Gentlemen, you're listening to the Wrestling Marks of Excellence here on 96.9 FM and 1340 AM. Now to today's show.
Hey, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Wrestling Marks of Excellence here on 96.9 FM, 1340 AM. It's a special edition of Wrestling Marks of Excellence. We got some great people on tonight. We're talking about the first night of WrestleMania. WrestleMania just had fans back in it for the first time. We had WrestleMania in Tampa, and we got some great people on tonight. I'm gonna get ahead and go get started. I'm gonna let everyone introduce themselves. Starting with my main man at the top, looking like Macho Man Randy Savage. What's going on, champ?
Champ Creed in the building. Let's go.
We got my main man nephew Corey, who's traveling right now. But Corey, what's going on, Wizard?
What's going on? I'm ready to rock and roll, man. Let's get this thing started, man.
Got you. And then we got some special guests on from the Wrestling Wrealm, none other than Mr. Main Event, Brian Waters. What's up, Brian?
Glenn, come on now. You know you're supposed to throw the H on there. We talk every day. Nah, what's up, bro?
Brian H. Waters. Sorry. Brian H. Waters. I'm sorry. Let me not forget the H. The Brian Main Event, Brian H. Waters. Let me get it correct.
Yeah, you know football. I don't want to get mixed up with the other former Pro Bowler. But what's up, man? Happy to be on here. Ready to talk wrestling with my brothers.
Right. And we got my main man standing up there real tall, the realness himself, Dwayne Allen. What's up, Dwayne?
What's cracking, brother? How you feeling?
Doing well, man. Doing well. Can't complain, brother. Can't complain. Great to have the Wrestling Wrealm on. Check them out on all social media platforms. But let's get to this. I want to start at the end, man. I really do want to start at the end with you guys. Bianca Bellaire becomes the WWE Smackdown Women's Champion. I'm gonna start with you, Dwayne. What was your feeling when you saw her win the title?
Oh man, it was definitely a long time coming. I mean, it's such a monumentous moment for women in all of professional wrestling, and for the Black community that's heavily involved in the world of professional wrestling. To see these women go out there and tell the story that they were able to do was nothing short of amazing. I think they went out there and they put on an absolute show. It was a very different story that I felt hasn't really been told on that big of a stage before. When it comes to the women main eventing, it was two legitimate pro wrestlers. It wasn't any celebrities involved, man. So for them to have that time, I mean, Sasha Banks is just nothing short of amazing. What she's been able to do, and she just constantly finds herself in these career-defining moments. Like, she is literally living out her legacy and just building a Hall of Fame career piece by piece. And what she was able to do for Bianca Belair and taking her to that next level, I mean, I was just like, I was in awe of what I was watching. And at this age, watching professional wrestling, that's what more can I ask for? So, I mean, I was speechless. I was excited. I was enthused. I was locked in all in one. So that was the initial feelings all in ones that I felt watching this match.
Yo, Brian, your thoughts, Mr. Main Event?
Man, you know me. I have a love and appreciation for women's wrestling, and to be sitting here watching this match with my son and daughter, but especially my daughter, who goes into the match like, I don't know who I want to root for. I said you got to pick one, and I think because Bianca came out first, but she was super invested, and to see that reaction right there, it took me back to the moments I had when Daniel Bryan won, or when Kofi Kingston won, or when Bret Hart won at WrestleMania 10. Like, this was just like a full of emotion, and it was exciting.
Got you. Hey, Champ, what you got?
Well, one of the things that I saw from Sasha tonight, the two words, ring general. What she did was she took the younger performer who on this first, her first WrestleMania, she put her in a situation where she looked good. Now, even though the outcome may or may not have been predetermined within the realm of sports entertainment, you still have to perform and you still have to get to that ending, and you have to tell the story with your match. And some people can crumble, they can blow up, they can gas out, they can botch. And I think that the moment was bigger than Bianca. But what I saw Sasha do was take charge. She called it. She led it step by step. And in the end, what that did is that made Bianca look like $1 million. So I'm impressed by both women, but even more with Sasha by taking the reins of this match and turning it what it could be considered instant classic.
Got you. Hey, Corey, your thoughts on this?
So I was gonna say this is that everybody's point is very valid that everybody has covered so far. The one thing I found interesting is, man, just Sasha has the absolute worst luck kayfabe wise at WrestleMania. She is still defeated at WrestleMania. She's never won. I really thought tonight was going to be the night, considering I just was like, okay, Bianca's got time. It's like, yeah, the stuff was leading up to that, Bianca winning the Rumble. Everything looked in line for Bianca to win. But it just seemed like, okay, this is WWE. I'm not going to get myself surprised if they throw the swerve in there and Sasha win. I just thought Sasha hadn't had the Mania moment yet. But maybe she had it tonight in losing. Maybe she really had a Mania moment of a different perspective with her losing and putting over Bianca the way she did. So the match was great. It was definitely the main event tonight.
Yeah, and that's my thought there too. I think the main event, it was definitely the main event. I'm gonna ask you guys this question. We talked about the legacy of Sasha Banks. She's been in a lot of firsts, and Sasha Banks has been in, and she's main event WrestleMania this year with Bianca Belaire. Has Sasha Banks gotten to the point where she has risen over a Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair? Is Sasha on that road? Because everybody says Charlotte is the blueprint. Is Sasha Banks number 2 now or number 1? I'll start with you, champ.
I mean, all right, hands down, we understand that if there's a Mount Rushmore, if there's a ranking from top to bottom, if there's a pyramid, however you want to put it, currently Charlotte Flair is at the top of that. Like, I find it hard pressed for anyone to argue, but I can say that in my estimation, if you want to do a 1 and a 2 and a 3, you got to put Sasha in the top 3, just for the simple fact that to this day, one of the best matches that I've ever seen, hands down, and Wiz, you can attest to this, was her and Bayley. What was that? SummerSlam, right?
Take over Brooklyn 1.
All right, take over. There we go.
Weekend.
Yes, takeover. That's to this day one of the best matches I've ever seen. So, I mean, if you look at Sasha, Bayley, Becky with Charlotte at the top, and now Bianca's climbing up. I mean, what Sasha did tonight, even though she didn't win, she looked really good, and she made Bianca look really good. Like, I'm more impressed with her in her defeat tonight than I have been with almost just about any of her other matches or wins, just because the fact that they're coming out of missing Mania a year and being in front of a crowd and then getting used to responding to the crowd. And like, there were just so many external factors that went into this main event, and they both showed and proved. So I would say, yeah, she has to be up there with amongst the best in the Mount Rushmore, if you want to put it that way. All
right, Dwayne, what's your thoughts? Where would you put Sasha Banks?
It's tough to rank Sasha Banks in any chronological order when it comes to number. I've always looked at the 4 horsewomen automatically at the top. Okay. They've kind of revolutionized what we consider women's wrestling for this generation. We've had a lot of women that have come across that paved the way, but they were those 4 women were kind of the pillar. It to me, at any point in time, any of those 4 women could really turn things around. You know what I mean? They have, when you need a first, or you need a main event, or you need someone that's going to care as much as they do because they were wrestling fans and they care about their craft, their product, and how they present themselves. They just get it. And I feel like right now it's just Sasha's turn. You know what I mean? So it's tough to say, okay, well, she may be number 1 right now. You know what I mean? Like, because Charlotte's out. So sure, we can name them 1, 2, 3, 4, but that could change in the seasons of professional wrestling. But she's at probably the top of her game. Like, this is the best I've ever seen her all around, as far as embracing who she is, her character, being able to control what's going on in the ring. She just gets it. And it's not a lot of wrestlers, not just women's wrestlers. I mean, it's not a lot of wrestlers out there that just get it. You know what I mean? That you can take unmolded clay and she just made Bianca into a superstar. Like, Bianca was already on her way, and they have been grooming her. But this was the night to wrestle whatever main event opportunity you get at a WrestleMania. That's, you're like, okay, this is sink or swim. That really can determine where your career goes, left or right. And Sasha literally walked her through that match there, and it didn't look rushed. The pacing was good. The story was being told. It was still methodical, but you still had action. It was just like, man, what am I watching right now? Like, I saw a great wrestling match, and I have not felt that way about a singles women's wrestling match since on a bigger stage, at least since Asuka and Charlotte Flair. Like I said, they put on probably one of the best wrestling matches I've ever seen, not just for the women. And I felt like that match, I say it over and over again as we make our tour around these many shows, that match that year could have main event at WrestleMania. That's how good it was. And to have them, they delivered. They delivered from top to bottom. And Lita was on the post show on the network, and she said they delivered from the start of Bianca's music to the end of the show, and she is absolutely right. I'm not the biggest women's wrestling fan, but those 4 women have kept my attention. What we have always talked about is the 4 horsewomen can't carry everything, and when I say that they get it, Sasha Banks recognizes we need new main event players to go up against. We need new stories. We need new chances to kind of expand the women's brand for the office brass and the sponsors and the TV people to take women seriously as legit superstars. And when I say superstars, I mean legit money makers. We can put you on a magazine. We can send you on a television show. You're going to carry the wrestling show. You're going to be able to represent the brand and the company in the right perspective. That's a complete player. And tonight I saw one complete player make a new complete player. And it was just like, man, I couldn't ask anything more.
You know what? One thing you just said, they can be on TV and magazines and not have to be naked.
I mean,
Right.
We're enjoying their craft, not how they look. And don't get me wrong, they're both gorgeous, but that's not the focus of the match. Like there was a time I was like, man, people be like, oh, it's a women's match. Bathroom. I'm like, first of all, these gorgeous women about to wrestle. Like I don't. If anything, let me see what they can do in the ring and just enjoy the sight. But we're not getting that anymore. Like we have moments where we can see that, but just how the evolution of women's. And first of all, these black women just represented on every level. Like it's so much depth to what we saw. It's utterly amazing. Like it's going to change the narrative of our people and how we're booked and how we're put in the positions that we've been put in positions as far as these big companies. It's just, I mean, they left me speechless. I want to go back and watch it again as soon as I'm done this because that's how good it was.
Yeah, me too. I want to say that before I go to Brian H. Waters. You know, we talk about being marketable. I didn't know. My wife knew. She's like, yeah, did you know Bianca Bellaire? She's a spokesperson for like this hair cream for edges. Yeah, I didn't know. She already got a marketing thing for edges for her keeping the edges straight. And, you know, and my wife said she pops up in my feed every day for edges. I'm like, what? I didn't even know that. You know what I'm saying? So they're being marketable, and y'all young girls and young ladies are seeing them on a regular basis. Brian H. What is your thoughts on Sasha Banks?
Oh man, you know, I'm loving. It's funny you brought up the edges because I'm sitting here. Shout out to our brother Hugh, who's still in the building, and that was the first thing he said. He was like, "Yo, Bianca's edges are still tight during the
whole match."
And so for Glenn to say that, you know, his wife said that, you know, she was now it makes sense. But you know, just looking at Sasha, you know, we've always said this that Bianca does Sasha better than Sasha. You know, Dwayne has said it, Glenn has said it. You know, and now we see Sasha really turn into her own and really own who she is these past several weeks. And I know people have been talking about the buildup, but I think for me, I like to suspend my disbelief during this time. You know, when we go to Mania, one of the things that Corey will always be, Brian, don't tell me no spoilers. Like, and I'm like, bro, I'm not even looking at this stuff. But I like to suspend my disbelief and just take what they give me. And what I was seeing was Sasha changing over and really just kind of embracing, like, I'm the boss, I'm the champion, and nobody's better than me. And that's what I've been really enjoying this from her. And like I said, stars, she just went out there, and that's what stars do. You look at her biggest, the person she loves the most in the business was Eddie Guerrero. Eddie Guerrero made JBL, and tonight she did the favors for Bianca Belair.
That's cool. Wizard, you start before we move on where do you play Sasha Banks right now? Hey, let's move on. We started off with I got you. You got you. Yeah, we got you, Wizard. Go ahead.
Pretty much at this point, as you all alluded to, everything runs through the 4 horsewomen now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Everything runs through them. All main events, all programs, everything runs through them. Y'all have pretty much covered all the things, but that's what I was going to cap it off with. Nothing goes through in WWE with the women unless it goes through one of them.
Hold on, I just got to say, is this the closing ending of Real Sports? Because he sound like Gumble. He sound like right at the end for his contribution. He got real serious on that one. You about to roll the credits or something, G?
Nah, man, I ain't rolling the credits not yet.
That sound like the last word talk right there.
You know, he get deep on us every once in a while. Hey, I want to get here. I wanted to go here because I thought them opening up with Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre was a good move. I really thought it was a good move to set the pace of what you expect in WrestleMania. Your first match back from WrestleMania, and you had the guy who closed the last WrestleMania with no fans, or with Drew McIntyre. So giving Drew McIntyre his moment in front of fans, and I thought that was good. The way they came out now, even though it was stopped because of the 40-minute rain delay or the thunder lightning delay
in wrestling.
It's wrestling, the thunder and lightning, but nonetheless, opening up with Bobby Lashley, MVP Drew McIntyre, I thought it was good. I'll start with you, Brian. Your thoughts on this match and the way the WWE opened it. Well, let me get back before they open it. With Vince McMahon coming in out and opening it up, and to me, made me think about 9/11 all over again. I don't know about anybody else. It made me think about 9/11, how he opened it up after 9/11, where he opened up. The WWE was the first event to have a crowd again after 9/11, and the way Vince opened up with all the crowd and everything around him. Your thoughts on the way Vince opened it up in the way that they opened it up with Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley?
I thought Vince opening up just made so much sense. Just his way of just kind of welcoming the fans back, but also thanking them for, supporting the company during this time. You look at people still buying merch, people still, watching the program. And so, and just kind of him like being that face, like reminder, like, you know what, we back. Let's do this. But the match, I mean, it was everything I was hoping it would be. It took me for a ride because I'm rooting for Bobby Lashley. We finally got a black WWE champion going into WrestleMania as champ. And I'm like, you know what? I want him to retain this title. But, and it kind of reminded me the same way I felt when Goldberg went up against Drew. I thought Goldberg might have a chance. Just, it's like, oh, you know what? When, you start thinking of a booker, like, yeah, because they want to get Goldberg another title reign. But then Drew beats him. And then the same thing happens here. Bobby Lashley goes out there. And I love the way it ended with, Bobby just showing dominance once again and making Drew, it looked like he passed him out. We may have saw Drew moving around a little bit. But, yeah, overall, I just love the match.
Got you. I'm going to go with you next to Dwayne. Your thoughts on the match, Bobby Lashley and Vince McMahon?
Now, Vince coming out there just kind of addressed it's typical Vince. I mean, you couldn't have asked. We always talk about WrestleMania in the moments, and WrestleMania has got to be the biggest family show on the face of the planet when it comes to pro wrestling. And it shocked me. I didn't see it coming, and it was kind of a pleasant surprise, to have Vince come out there. That's when it's serious. When you see Vince coming out and you see the superstars come out. A lot of times it's unfortunately when people pass away, or we get rocked by a monumentous event, which we did. And it gave birth to the COVID era of professional wrestling. So I think it was much needed to say, look, let's suspend the show for a second to say we're going to take the time out to thank the fans, because the fans are the ones that are crazy enough to say we're going to come to the show if you guys open it up, and they did. They're the life energy that those wrestlers needed and have been feeding to. That's why they get into the business for a lot of different reasons. But that is a key part of their experience and what they do for a profession. So for him to do that is just, to me, it reminds everybody that Vince McMahon is not this monster because something doesn't go right, or something, the Hurt Business breaks up, or something we didn't like that. So it's like, man, this guy's a businessman. And he understands. Look, we can disagree creatively, but there's something bigger than that, and that's the fans, and that's something I could appreciate. But the match itself, it just made perfect sense. You got to think about it. The first match on the first live event with that many fans, with the former WWE champion that kind of carried the brand, that had to have his moment during a difficult time period. I mean, it seemed right that he got that first pop. That's why his music came. It just seemed perfect. Him not being the champion, he comes out first as the challenger. He got the first crack at that audience, and because it was such a heavyweight matchup, the style of the match was going to be slow and methodical, so they could kind of take their time, which is kind of what the fans were going to need anyway. Still trying to come in and fill in the stadium. So it was like, man, it was a great way to pace the match to start the show off. It was methodical, it was slower, it was hard hitting, but you can kind of they were allowed to take their time to get their spots in, and it made sense for that to be. And you started off with a bang. It's a WWE championship, so it was special all in one. Wrestlers always talk about, if you don't close the show. You want to start the show because you kind of want to set the tone. And I just thought, for a number of different reasons, on top of many different layers, why it just made sense. And it was a pretty good start to the show. I enjoyed it.
Wizard, your thoughts?
First, the Vince thing for me, that was expected. I fully expected Vince to be out there. Something like this, I could not see him coming out to make an announcement of some sort to acknowledge the fans. That's the Vince thing to do to me.
Yeah.
So that was expected to me. Drew and Bobby, that was another one where I thought, okay, conventional wisdom would lead you to believe that they're going to give Drew a do-over or throw him a bone for, kind of taking such a crappy situation of his title run, considering the way the world was last year. But Bobby getting the win, Bobby deserves that. I'm very happy that he got it. And MVP too, to be in that moment,
Yeah.
for the MVP to do what he did with all of the Hurt Business in the last year. That's good that he got that rub to be on that stage as well. So I was okay with it.
And WWE does something better than TNA once again, because the Drew McIntyre Bobby Lashley match from WWE is much better than the TNA match between Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley.
But we can't fault TNA all that. I mean, this is WrestleMania.
I can't fault it. Only reason I bring it up because TNA tried to capitalize. I don't know if y'all saw it. They were trying to sell the video. Or
they do it every time.
We didn't see it.
Well, them in Ring of Honor. I mean, it's not a bad idea.
No, it's not a bad idea.
Trending topic.
Is that topic? Again, is that their merchandise? But again, Vince is just going to do a little bit better. Champ, your thoughts on Vince coming out as well as Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre?
Well, I just want you guys to know that I actually missed that. I missed Vince. I missed the first match, but there's a good reason, because I was rushing back home after putting in a 6-match parlay for tonight and tomorrow. And the first one had Bobby Lashley as a plus 220 underdog, to which that was number 1 on my 6 matches. And I am 1 down, 5 to go. So it was worth me missing those first 2 instances.
Got you. Hey, another surprising match of the night, man. And this is one that surprised me. Even at my house, I got kids, so they was excited about it. And I'm be honest, I might show my age a little bit. And I know Wizard, y'all probably knew. I didn't know Bad Bunny till a couple months ago. I just didn't.
I just learned who he was too.
Yeah,
I knew who he was. I don't listen to his music, but I knew who he was.
Of course you did.
Who he was.
Right.
He's a big name pop culture wise. Big name in the sneaker game too. So
and if it wasn't he number 1 in terms of merch about last month, I think.
Yes, he was number 1
with
merch.
You just had to throw that in there.
Okay. I had to throw it in, man. I'm impressed.
Why you throwing random facts in? He also want to grab.
Look. Think about all the celebrities that should. The Green Arrow ain't sell all those shirts. Stephen Amell. Well, we're gonna talk about the Green Arrow.
He ain't Bad Bunny. Just because y'all ain't know who he was, doesn't mean
I knew who he was. Listen, he drove past my block when he was doing a live concert during the pandemic. I knew who he was.
So, I mean, the world knew who he was, and he made money. But again, were you surprised at the way that he performed in the ring, and not the way he performed, but he got a lot of time in the ring. And you know how you usually see the superstars come in, they get the hot tag towards the end of the match.
Yeah, I was just saying that. saying the same thing.
He started and he got a lot of time. It was Priest that was outside of the ring. So, Dwayne, your thoughts on Bad Bunny and his performance, man?
I was so impressed. That's got to be the best celebrity wrestling match I've ever seen. Like, it's just like you said. I was watching and I was like, okay, he's starting the match. I figured he was going to get his legs in and do his thing, and then he had a full-fledged wrestling match, and he did a really good job at it. Like, this is the number 1 Latin American superstar all-time, like, record-breaking selling currently. Like, he not what he used to do. Like, he's actively involved. No one of that magnitude has ever come into a situation like WWE voluntarily and put in that much time to have he had a full wrestling match. I wasn't expecting that. About 5 minutes in, I said, usually this match would have been over by now.
Yeah.
Hot tag, have his moments, he's gone. I mean, but he put on a full wrestling match. I was watching like, yo, he's really like, he pulled out the stops. It made sense for him to be in there with Miz and Morrison, because you talking about team players. They made him look amazing. and it didn't look fake. It didn't look rushed. It didn't look like it was super rehearsed. It blended in well. The story they told made sense. I mean, even the small, minute details of how he sold, the moves he did, how he, kind of pandered to the crowd, his high spots. I've never seen a celebrity put on a better wrestling match than what I saw with Bad Bunny and Damian Priest did with Miz and Morrison. I was thoroughly impressed. I couldn't believe it. I didn't think we was going to get that a full length wrestling match. I think it was going to be, quick, have a quick pop, have a moment, take a lot of pictures for Latin America media, and call it a day. But that brother, he really showed me something. I mean, they talk about him being a lifelong WWE fan, but I saw tonight how legitimate that really was. That was amazing.
Brian H. Waters, your thoughts?
I want to talk about the Miz and Morrison because, like you said, those guys went out there, they did the job for him and made him look great. But the entrance, seeing all the bunnies out there, I said these guys are the best trolls in wrestling. Because you saw the bunnies and you figure, okay, this is for Bad Bunny. But when they came out there and just them out being Miz and Morrison, and you sit back and you're like, this is why they are always going to be in these entertainment spots. This is why they always going to have a job for reasons like this.
Yeah, Miz and Morrison again. And Miz is great, man. You talk about a company guy, Dwayne, and a team player.
Absolutely.
The Miz is a company guy and a team player. I mean, he knew he was a transitional champion. I think Wizard, you brought it in our text group earlier this week. It was great for the Otis to win, but for the Miz to get it off of Otis, and then for the Miz to make a deal, because he's the only wrestler that could have made a deal with MVP and then had to cash it in and really make it look like it makes sense.
Yeah,
it sense. It made sense that how they moved transition from the Miz to Bobby Lashley and for the Miz now to go with Bad Bunny. Wizard, your thoughts on the match with Bad Bunny and Damian Priest and Miz and Morrison?
Yeah, I was gonna say, just to chime in on what Dwayne was saying. Two things. One, if we're counting as a celebrity, I would say the best celebrity performance, at least until they kept going, I would say it was Ronda Rousey. But if we're counting,
does that count though?
No.
Does that count?
That was her first night out.
She's supposed to be on a contract.
Like she was even.
Wait, you talking about the match of Triple H and Kurt Angle?
Yes.
Okay, that's fair. No, that was a really good one. That's fair. Absolutely,
yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, me, that's probably the best one. But two, I kind of expected this from Bad Bunny in the sense of this was that, from what I've been hearing, he's been in the Performance Center 2 to 3 times a week since January.
I thought they were bluffing. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, they too. I thought they were bluffing.
Listen. When I heard that, I was thinking about Nate Robinson, because they said he was in the ring 2 to 3 weeks before he got his boxing match. And we saw how that turned out.
Yeah, but okay, we're not gonna go into that. I'm not gonna disrespect WrestleMania like that.
Well, maybe Nate Robinson needs to go to the Performance Center so that way he can redeem himself, because obviously the training that Bad Bunny was doing worked out.
But you gotta look at who was invested. I'm guaranteed Booker T, who had invested a lot in the Bad Bunny, and some other people that were down there, Jimmy Priest, and all those invested in Bad Bunny to make sure that he was getting time. Because you got to look at it too. I mean, he's been a 24/7 champion for a minute. He didn't really lose the title. He handed it over, So it was like this guy had stuck around, and it made sense why he had stuck around the WWE for a long time after his first appearance with Booker T. So it made sense.
WWE was shelling out that money. They probably paid him at least 7 figures. Not to mention, the WWE 24/7 championship was on Saturday Night Live and the Grammys.
Free advertising.
Free advertising.
It ain't free. No, it wasn't free.
Well worth the price.
Yeah, and then they got that money back in merchandise. So and
there you
go. Speaking of newcomers, who didn't get a lot of time in the ring, but show were really effective. Almost. We have new World Tag Team Champions. Shout out to Morgan State University, even though he was there for a hot minute, but he can still say Morgan State University.
Hey, we all HBCU grads here.
Yeah, HBCU.
But me and Dwayne own this one.
We all are.
I said we all are.
We actually all are, yeah.
That's why I noticed. I know.
He stunk as a basketball player, by the way. That's one thing I won't own. He stunk. He was terrible at basketball. So before you get started, let me just disclaimer: he was not good at all. 7'3", 298,000 pounds. He was not good at all. Sorry.
I knew you was gonna say that.
I think he had to make a move. Anytime you get a 7-footer that's not in the league or at least didn't play somewhere else, you had to know that he had to be garbage, right? I feel you on that. Hey, Brian, let's start with you, man. Your thoughts on the AJ Styles almost who defeated the New Day to become the new Raw Tag Team Champions?
Man, how about the New Day? Just watching. I hear myself. Sorry.
Turn the mic down.
All right, this better?
Yeah.
All right, so watching the New Day the whole time, just sell. Just stay in the way, trying to keep AJ Styles out, and just the little stuff, yelling at AJ, "Hey AJ, you're not a tag team wrestler," and just constantly beating up on him. One of the things I thought about, Corey, last year, you said that this WrestleMania they probably would name it "Let's Try Again," right?
That's exactly what they did, though. They said it.
Like with their gear, they crossed out the 0 and put the 1.
Yep.
And it was just the little stuff. And then, they kept beating up AJ and trying to keep Omos out the ring. He gets in the ring, and then that look he had on his face, and it seemed like it was almost if you want to play heel face, like it was a shift in the arena because people was waiting to see him. And then he went in there and just owned the moment. Yep. And I love the way it was booked. I thought it was perfect. AJ Styles kind of sneaking and doing the phenomenal forearms. And I said, man, this guy's gonna be in good hands. He's with AJ Styles every week. He's gonna be sitting there learning every day. So overall, I enjoyed this. We got new tag team champions, and they look dominant. Who's beating them?
Definitely, who's beating them? Corey, let's go to you. Go ahead, Corey.
Yo, I was gonna say, contrary to what Brian won. Shout out to Xavier Woods. At one point, he had AJ in the corner with him and Kofi. He said, "This is tag team wrestling. This is me cutting the ring off." I said, "Yo, you're kidding me?"
Right.
I said, "You got to be kidding me." He is a gold mine.
Yes, he
but
is.
Contrary to what Brian just brought up, I don't think they hold them that long.
Okay.
I think this was to introduce Omos, and they're going to drop them within the next month or two.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Somebody else is getting the tag team championships. I don't know who, but I don't see AJ and Omos holding them that long. I just don't think they need to.
Well, when you put your analyzing hat on, sure. But, just from a kayfabe standpoint, they looked in a way like who can beat them. That's what I mean.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I'll put it this way. I don't see an Omos turning on AJ situation because I think that's overdone. Mm-hmm. Not saying that they won't do it, but I do think they're not holding them that long. But like I said, nonetheless, this was to introduce Omos to the WWE universe, and they did a good job because, like you brought up, the way Kofi and Xavier's faces sold the moment he was tagged in, even before then, when Xavier was on the top rope and AJ kicked Kofi off, and they're looking at each other like, "Oh no, don't tag him. Please don't tag him." And then they tagged him, and you knew it was over then. So I thought they delivered well to introduce him. He's very green though. We can see that now. Yeah. He is green.
And the best thing he does is run in the corner, man. The best thing he does is run in the corner. But you don't think about it though. As a big guy, you don't have to do much though. Mm-hmm. I mean, in tag team wrestling, him being a big guy, he doesn't have to do much. Look at the Big Show when he first came. I mean, he didn't.
That's 20 years ago, though. G.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much now, Braun is 10 times doing more than what Omos is doing now. I mean, Braun's 6'8", 380, so he's in the same neighborhood. He's got to be able to the kicks, and I mean, he's Black Khali right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I give you that.
Yeah, he's got to do more.
You said Black Khali.
Black Khali.
I was gonna go with almost Gonzalez.
Oh no!
I wouldn't say
don't go that bad.
He said, "Well, wait. Let me switch I'm gonna switch the convo up. Because we're wearing this Hall of Fame drip, courtesy of Chalk Line. Good looking Wiz. Big man clothes. Let's talk about big man ring apparel, right? Mm-hmm. It's hard to find quality ring apparel for big guys, right? You know what I mean? if you're Kane, you got it. If you're the Undertaker, you got it. Kevin Nash, you look at before he became the Kevin Nash that we know didn't work. You can think of so many tall guys that just had foolish outfits, and the suit that they had, it reminded me, it was kind of reminiscent of Deacon Devon, what have you.
Deacon Batista.
Deacon Batista, right? But what they did with him, from how they even had him come out with the 3/4 trench coat, they had him in a suit and a blazer. They're doing a good job of presenting him with the look, And then tonight with him coming in the ring, he didn't look foolish. You can tell that he's green. You can tell that there are some things that he needs to work on and polish upon. But to your point was, I think Braun, in a sense, is an anomaly just because he's a very athletic big guy. Not every tall guy they can be a powerhouse, but they're not athletic. And I mean, I think that we've been spoiled with having the Undertaker as that prime example for generations, because he's an anomaly himself with the things that he's capable of doing. So Kane as well. So I kind of wouldn't hold him to that standard just yet, but to make your debut on WrestleMania and do what you did, he didn't mess up. Let's just say that. He didn't botch.
Yes. And to piggyback on what you said, Champ, they didn't make his gear look like he knew how to wrestle.
Right. There you go.
Yeah, they didn't. They made his gear look like, okay, he's a machine getting ready to kick somebody's butt out here. Yeah. He's just here to fight. And that's
the black jeans on and the black dry fit shirt.
Yeah, it looked like a bouncer. A button. Yeah. He had a button up dry fit shirt.
Great comparison. He looked like
and
a bouncer.
And that look can work for his style. And just keep it simple. All he needs to do is keep it simple.
Well, we watched it. That's how we was introduced to him. He was the bouncer at whatever they think Shane McMahon had. What was that called?
Raw Underground.
Raw Underground. Raw Underground. Yeah, Dwayne, your thoughts on Omos and AJ Styles?
No, I mean those are all excellent points. It goes back to what you said, Glenn. I think in his situation, less is more. He did better than I thought he was going to do, because I knew how bad he was in basketball at Morgan State. So I was like, man, when you see a big guy like that, he was very Khali-esque, and I was like, man, even on the apron, I was like, man, he's probably not going to give us much, but I hope he doesn't go out there and try to do too much. And that's exactly what he did. He went out there and he didn't give us too much. I think him understanding the psychology of, look, I'm limited, I'm this stoic muscle, let me stick to that. He made faces, his poses, the things that make him intimidating, he stuck to that, and he stuck to that only. I think the way for a guy that's really not that good right now, I think he did exactly what he was supposed to, which I didn't think he was even going to do. I said, he's going to come out here, because I've seen him fumble before. When he first came, he didn't make, I'm like, he's got to make some type of facial expression. He's got to be more than one-dimensional big guy, excuse me. But I saw that tonight, and I was like, okay, listen, he didn't do as bad as I thought he was going to. He actually did pretty well for what he needed to do. And like I said, I think AJ winning the tag title just adds to his legacy as far as championships in WWE. So he should be in the Grand Slam conversation I believe right now. I mean, it's only maybe Universal title and maybe one or two others that he doesn't have in history, but I think it served its purpose. It's also to Corey's point, it's not. I don't think it's meant to last long. It's just kind of to solidify, introduce. Have AJ has his tag title run for now, and then is hopefully he continues to develop, and if not, he can stay in this sort of a bouncer role for as long as they need him to. So sometimes
you know what? Let me counter your Black Khali with he looked like Big John Studd. Big, just lumbering, pause, and you don't ask him to do much, you just ask him to be what he is. And just don't mess up.
I give you that, but Stud could wrestle back in the day.
Yeah, he could move. Stud could move. His son could move way better than him.
Yeah, Stud could move back in the day.
Almost looks like he's going to break his knees if he moves too fast.
And I don't know how he looked like the guy who they threw a basketball in his hand or made him an athlete just because he was tall.
Of course,
because he wasn't introduced to the sport. That he really wasn't a kid who grew up playing basketball.
Right.
But it was like, okay, because you're here, and that hurts his athleticism because he really wasn't coordinated. He started late, so now he has to catch up with the athleticism to where he needed to get to be at. Unlike, as we mentioned earlier, Braun Strowman, who's been athletic since the day. This is the match. Actually, I'm probably unpopular opinion over here. I thought this match could have been left off of this card. First of all, I didn't want to see this match. I didn't want to see it because, again, I'll tell you why I didn't want to see this match, because I believe Shane just took a spot from somebody else. Why did Shane have to come back? I know you needed something for Braun. You put it in a cage match. You knew Braun was going to win anyway because of the whole anti-bully, stupid situation thing. I was like, you know what? Why? Why even waste my 11 minutes and 25 seconds on this Braun Strowman and Shane McMahon match? I know you got to spot him throwing him over.
Here's my counter. Here's my counter, G. Who were you putting in that spot other than Shane?
I would just leave Braun off the card. I will move one of the other matches up and give it more time.
Braun carried, Braun was Universal Champion last year.
For a hot minute.
And held it down while Roman was gone. When Roman came back, like y'all said, Vince got his Roman back. So you give him his.
You're the only one to remember that Braun. You're the only one to remember that Braun was Universal Champion.
No, I mean, he had okay one. To Corey's point, here's what I looked at. Like, don't get me wrong, Glenn. I'm with you as far as it seemed like it came out of nowhere. The build-up seemed kind of random, and it was like, well, why is it necessary? But I'm gonna tell you stuff. I was pleasantly surprised. I looked at it with a different eye, and I walked away from that match saying to myself, you know what? Shane is good at making stars. Like Shane's not considered a full-time performer, but he made me say, you know what? He made this match was just to simply make Braun look strong, for him to have a WrestleMania moment, and to kind of have his piece in the midst of this WrestleMania. And I got that when I saw the match. It was kind of like sweet redemption. I said, Shane is a star maker. I said, Shane can really put guys over. And it's a shame that you got to get a part-time executive to come in and do that. But
isn't Braun already over? Like, I don't know.
It's not. It's not about getting anybody over. It's about Braun having an important part of WrestleMania because of what he did, because they're loyal. Like, look, he's been here all this time. They gave all their champions that stepped up in the pandemic loyalty runs. This was a loyalty run. And it's just like Corey said, well, who else do you put in that spot? You just can't give him any throwaway. You got to make it important because it was Shane McMahon. And it seemed like last minute and it was rushed. But when you look at the match and the moments that happened in the match, I said, oh, Shane actually made this guy look really strong in the ring. He made Strowman look like the Strowman Express was a true powerhouse. And I'm like, who else on the card could have made that moment, as small as it was, that important? So that's how I looked at it. That's what I took away from it. So it's nothing I didn't really want to see myself. But when I watched it, I said, wow, I think Shane did his job today. He knew what he had to do. It was simply let's make Braun look strong in this situation, and I think he's successful at it.
Well, no, they owe Braun more than that, especially after they tagged him up with that sick kid back in the day and blew that whole
sick, man.
Who allowed?
I don't get. Listen,
my gosh.
Listen, look, listen. That kid had Tom and Jerry disease. He had Elmer Fudd syndrome, whatever you want to call it. That kid wasn't right. And they gave him a moment with Braun, and WWE, they owe Braun 10 moments after this. If you want to count tonight, they got 9 left.
Well, I'm not even commenting on that.
Is he talking about with the referee's son?
Yeah, the referee's son.
You know what's going to be funny? When we actually show up, that little kid going to probably try to kick my ass when he sees the show.
Yeah.
But you know what? There was a message at the end. If you kept, you just listen to Braun, he kept saying, like, this is for everybody who's ever been, like, bullied and stuff. And so, it was one of those things, they had to get that in there.
Yeah, they had the PSA. There was the PSA match of the night.
Sure. They did it with Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax a couple years ago.
Bingo.
Yeah, they did it. Yep. Sure did. That's the PSA
Company agenda. They still got PR to do, so.
They definitely do. On a new network, and they got new fans and new people watching.
And new commercials, a whole lot of commercials.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they pay a lot of advertisement. Yep.
Speaking of commercials, your boy was still in another commercial, man. Him and R-Truth.
Yeah, another Old Spice commercial.
Old Spice commercial.
The Bugle,
yeah, the Bugle, boy. The Bugle with the mask on the side.
I told you I had to go put the parlay in. Listen.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not even gonna get off track. Yeah. You want to talk about somebody they should have put in that spot? They should have put Bug in that spot. There you go. That's who they could have left Braun off, and they could have put my man Buggs in there.
Hey, we also got the Natalya and Tamina, who will go on tomorrow night to face Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler for the women's tag team titles. Your thoughts on this one, Wizard? I'll start with you.
I mean, it was a good replacement for not having the women's battle royal. I mean, that's who all the people have just been in that anyway. So why not, make it a little bit more important and make it, for a shot at the tag titles? I did think this was, I think had it been for the tag titles all the way out and Nia and Nia and Shayna had been in it, I honestly thought Mandy and Dana were going to win it. I really did. But I think Natalya and Tamina are going to get that loyalty run.
Yep.
I don't see Shayna and Nia winning tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, that's the same thing. Let's go to you, Brian. What your thoughts?
I would just say, man. Well, first of all, Mandy Rose made a WrestleMania moment when she fell.
Man.
I was like, "Oh snap!"
Champ Creed missed that.
I missed that.
Oh,
she fell on the ramp, the ring.
Yes.
Or what?
Yep.
Yeah.
We have to send the video.
Yeah, send me.
I'm not going there, Dwayne.
Yeah.
I know.
Wait, hold on. Wait, she fell. She fell
walking out.
Yeah, and she fell on her butt, and you can see the imprint the rest of her time in the match.
Gotcha.
But
that's bad. That's
I saw the thing is, like, we talk about the loyalty run. The one thing, my takeaway watching this was seeing Tamina. You saw that emotion, and I was thinking, like, she's probably thinking about her dad. This is her first WrestleMania win, if I'm not mistaken, and just that emotion, and that's the thing for me. Every time I see stuff like that, it makes it real. They always say, okay, it's a predetermined sport, whatever, but that stuff made it real. So that was my takeaway, and I'm ready to see them win tag titles tomorrow.
Yep. Dwayne, your thoughts on Natalya and Tamina?
Definitely well deserved. It goes back to you knew a loyalty run was coming for those two there. There's been this conversation about women kind of being pushed to the back because of them getting older in age, where on the other end, you have the men that get 45 and 46 and all of a sudden they're in their prime, at least in this generation. So to see them kind of having their shot to be in an important aspect of WrestleMania, like I said, with the gauntlet match, is way better than the Battle Royal because it had an importance to it. And then the matchups, it's going to be a powerhouse matchup between Natalya, that can one of the best technical in-ring workers to ever lace the boots up. And then you got your powerhouse with Tamina going against, another technical superstar, Shayna Baszler, and then your powerhouse in Nia Jax. So I think the matchup makes a lot of sense. I think it should be good because they're pretty much vets in the ring for the most part. With Nia Jax and Shayna being the newer of them. They're not really, young or new, but the newer of out of those four. So I well deserved. It makes sense. I'm glad to see people like Natalya and Tamina getting their just due because they've been around for a while. They've been team players. They've helped so many young superstars come up, and and they're still in their prime. They're still contributing in an important. They're not just afterthoughts. They're contributing in a very important way. So it's good to see them, have their run. It is not just a forced run. It makes sense. So I'm looking forward to that matchup on night 2.
And that's one of the things. I think this is the longest stretch in Tamina's career that she ain't been injured. Yeah.
As far as I know,
as far as I know, and so she's been injured a lot, and it's good to see they bring her back on TV and to give her this run. One thing that the last match that wanted to talk about before we go into something else, wasn't it? I didn't know until they started running the commercials. I never knew Cesaro hadn't been in a singles match for 10 years. I never really thought about that until they started running the commercials. Like, dang, I know he'd been there for a while, but like he never had a singles match at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And I was like, dang. But your thoughts on the match with Cesaro and Seth Rollins? Let's start with you, Wizard.
That actually, from a pure match standpoint.
Yes, indeed. Say it, brother.
Probably match of the night.
Yes.
That was probably a match of the night, realistically. Bianca and Sasha is probably a strong second.
Yeah.
But that was match of the night. I think Cesaro did what Cesaro does.
He showed off
when
tonight.
You have a dance partner, Seth Rollins. That's what you're going to have. So it was not even saying it in a selfish or a whatever kind of way, but they did what you expected them to do.
Absolutely.
It was Cesaro and Seth Rollins. We got what we were asking for. Cesaro with a huge win, and I hope this propels and keeps going, and it doesn't just stagnate here. Because you thought you were going to get this at WrestleMania 30, when he won the was the first Battle Royal winner.
Yeah.
And you thought, okay, maybe they're really finally about to push him, and they put him on Heyman and all, and then it stalls. But hopefully this one is for real, and they really push him.
Yeah. Brian, your thoughts? Dwayne,
Man,
I'm coming to you next.
Just seeing him hit the UFO, those are the swings. Those were like WrestleMania moments, and I tweeted at Wrestling Wrealm. You'll see those in the montages for years to come. Just those WrestleMania video packages that we look forward to. They was adding clips in that, and incredible, everything I expected it to be, and they delivered.
Dwayne, your thoughts on this match?
Man, I couldn't have. I don't think I've ever seen a better singles debut coming out party that I've ever seen with Cesaro and Seth Rollins. Of course, the match was everything you expected because, first of all, these dance partners, they know each other very, very well.
Yeah.
And the boys in the back have always been very vocal about how good Cesaro is. And Cesaro's attitude towards working for WWE is very different. He has a very resilient approach to, like, look, I'm not going anywhere until I accomplish what I need to accomplish. I'm not going to get mad and go elsewhere to try to make a name for myself and come back. And there's nothing wrong with that approach because sometimes that's necessary as well. But I watched his WrestleMania singles match debut, and I said, man, this is the Cesaro that we've been wanting them to unleash for so long. It's like, and every time we thought we were going to get it, somehow he's taking a back seat or he's in a tag team, and he's so good, so you just adjust to whatever he's doing. But to have this match with him and Seth Rollins, the story they told, you couldn't, from a technical standpoint, two vets in the ring, like just watching him work, I say Cesaro is that good. I mean, even the UFO. I remember when he first got to WWE, he was still Antonio Cesaro. We thought we were going to see that because that was all the clips that you saw from Ring of Honor and stuff like that.
Right.
But instead we got the swing, and so maybe they're not going to let him do it. And you didn't see him. I saw him maybe do that once or twice in his tenure at WWE. But to see him do that at WrestleMania, it was finally like, yo, I'm finally here moment. And I was like, man, they got to keep this momentum because this was too good. His attitude, he doesn't need a character. He's kind of this no nonsense kind of guy, and I'm better than you. And I'm like, that works for him. Let him be that version of himself, and then that gives you a reason to put him in the top of the card because he's pound for pound the strongest guy on the roster, despite his build. Mm-hmm. There's nothing he can't do in the ring, and he has a personality. He has shown us over the last couple of years how much he has developed this personality. Where look, I can be joking and I can be jokeful, but trust me, I'm not the one to get into it. Seth Rollins did an amazing job of bringing it tonight. I couldn't thank Seth Rollins enough for what he did for Cesaro because he gave us an opportunity to see the Cesaro we've always wanted to see. That's a former world champion. That's a former that's a Hall of Famer. That's what he's going to be. Like, and what he's had done in his short career, and to just be gracious enough to bring Cesaro to that level and to let him perform. He got all his spots in. Everything we love about Cesaro, we saw him do tonight. In true pro wrestling fashion, everything made sense. Nothing was rushed. The psychology, it was like, man, you want to study a wrestling match? This is a match they're going to tell young guys to study, going forward on the biggest stage of them all.
Yeah,
I couldn't be more happy. I'm
glad you put it in that point. Cause I was going to say too, they got their spots in and it made sense.
Yeah,
and that's what you like to see in matches, that when people get their spots and it makes sense. Every time we watch wrestling matches and people get their spots in, you're like, why did I even? Where did they come from?
We call
how did they even get? Yeah, how did they
even
get in there? And so everything here makes sense. And head off to Seth Rollins returning, doing all the political ad type things, and still putting his boy over and come out and will come out Friday night and still look whole. You know what I'm saying? It won't lose any. And that's the thing about Seth Rollins and guys like him and AJ Styles and even Sasha Banks, why they put people over and on the next night or the next show they still whole. You know what I'm saying? They haven't lost any momentum. They haven't lost any ground.
Right.
And and that's what you want. You want the star to come out who loses and not lose any ground or lose any momentum. And I think that's what we saw tonight on night one, where we saw a lot. Again, New Day, they lost to almost an AJ Styles. They're not going to lose any momentum. You know what I'm saying?
All.
They're not going to lose any momentum whatsoever. Seth Rollins not going to lose any momentum. Miz and Morrison not going to lose any momentum. Even though they lost to Bass Bunny. So Drew McIntyre, he lost to Bobby Lashley. But again, Drew is one of those guys that's not going to lose any momentum. He'll still be in the title picture for a long time until, in my opinion, until Brock Lesnar comes to get it off of Bobby Lashley. I think that's who's getting it off Bobby, in my opinion, because that's the match Bobby always wanted. That's the match people want to see, and that's the match Bobby want to see. Bobby wanted to have is Brock Lesnar. As we wrap this up real quick, give me your match of the night and what grade will you give this WrestleMania? I mean, this night one of WrestleMania because we have night two tomorrow. Champ, I'll start with you.
Well, I'd like to say that Sasha Banks was also I think they had her at a plus 290 underdog, and that was my second of the 6-part parlay. So I'd give this night an A++. You know, it's better than last year. You know, it's not the Performance Center. You got a somewhat semblance of a crowd. Everybody put on tonight. You know, Cesaro, like you said, he won big, and I give that the match of the night. I'm just excited. It seemed like tonight was a normal night for professional wrestling, WWE WrestleMania. So I can't criticize anything. I'm happy.
All right, Wizard, go to you.
I would say definitely an A+. Match of the night, as I said before, was Cesaro and Seth Rollins. And this will be interesting because for me, I have a feeling the same thing, in my opinion, is going to happen with WrestleMania as it did with TakeOver. That night one may end up being better than night two.
Unexpectedly,
Yeah, because I think this with the same thing as TakeOver, night two is so stacked, it's not going to live up to the preconceived notions that it's going to be, so good. Like the conceptions that people have right now is that night two is so stacked with, you know, the people they're going to have on it, that it's going to be better than night one. And then sure enough, with TakeOver, night one was better than night two to me. And I think that's going to happen with WrestleMania. Not saying tomorrow night will be bad. It will be good. I just think we got a quality show. Dare I say, if that was Mania tonight and it was one night, I would have been fine with it. I really would have.
Yeah. Right. Oh, and correction, Sasha Banks was plus 300.
Got you. For all the Gavin fans out there. Dwayne, your grade for tonight?
I give it a solid A, man. Like everything that said it was 100% true, man. This is for that to be the first show we get from, you know, post-pandemic or post-COVID era professional wrestling. I couldn't have asked for anything more. They delivered from top to bottom for what they were allowed to give us. And the biggest thing that I took away from what Corey said was it felt like a regular night. You know, that's what you wanted. I'm like, that's what we've kind of missed. And it gave that feeling. So it's like, man, not only did we feel good because we were going to accept whatever they were going to give us, but they delivered. I mean, that's from top to bottom. Like I said, even the match that I didn't want to see, I was not interested in Shane and Strowman, but I was like, man, Shane knows how to make guys look good in the ring. Like he knows how to make it make sense. And the buildup was way worse than what they gave us. But I was like, hey, Shane is good at what he does. So that to me put it over the top. But of course, Cesaro, Rollins, man, I just can't. Like, if they make me want to get in the ring, not that I would now, but like if there's a match that I'm going to study, it's that one. Like, I mean, there's a ton of them we can, but in this 2021, and it was amazing. Like it was long overdue, but it's kind of like AJ Styles saying, like, you know, it sometimes it takes that long for things to be right, but when you get there, it kind of solidifies your place. And man, I'm blown away by what they were able to give us tonight. I had fun. That's the biggest thing for me at this age, man. If I can have fun and enjoy myself, that's the biggest thing. I definitely give it an A. And it's only night one. I'm excited for night two because I'm like, man, we get a whole nother night. But definitely that.
Brian H., what is your thoughts?
Man, night one, A+, without a doubt. Just everything I was waiting for. You know, I look at just waiting weeks and weeks up to WrestleMania just because it's WrestleMania, and it was everything I wanted it to be. As far as the match of the night for me, obviously Sasha and Bianca. A couple years ago, last time they was in front of fans, the main event was Rousey and you know, Becky Lynch and Charlotte. Some say the match didn't deliver. Some say it did. You could make a toss-up. Without a shadow of a doubt, this match delivered. Dare say it was everything they wanted that match to be as far as the emotional high that you was on afterwards. And, you know, just to kind of see the kayfabe being broken on Twitter, somebody captured a video of Sasha outside while Bianca is celebrating, and she has this big old smile on her face, you know, because the moment was about making that star, having a moment, representation. 2 black women in a match, you know, and it was just everything I wanted it to be. I can't wait to see what happens from here. You know, at the end of the night, I wanted 2 things to happen, and I got them. Everything else was a bonus. That was Bobby Lashley to walk in the champion, walk out the champion, and Sasha or Bianca to have a great match, and they did.
Yeah, black girl
nothing
magic,
wavered.
man.
Nothing wavered tonight. Every
At all,
match,
man.
there was no matches where you were like, "Oh, okay, is this going to be
Right.
over?"
Right.
You were really investing in every match.
That's rare
You
today's
are.
wrestling, man. That's rare today's professional wrestling.
It's rare, but I think night number 2 is you can see a lot of changes. I think we'll see changes on night number 2. My night takeaway for night number 1 is I do enjoy the black girl magic. I enjoy how the torch was kind of passed. I really enjoy that. You know, black women have been through a lot, and we get to see them expand in different areas of life. We got a black vice president, and now we got a new black. We saw the first black Royal Rumble champion this year as a woman. We saw women main event WrestleMania, so I think it's good for our young girls to see people in that light to do that thing, to do it that way. I think also WrestleMania tonight, man, was great. I don't know about y'all. I'm spoiled. I don't want WWE to go back to one night at WrestleMania. I think we should stay at 2 nights. I'm sorry. I'm just that guy right now. I think we should stay at 2 nights. Again, you think about it. They have a lot of wrestlers to get in. They have a big roster. If you don't put it to 2 nights, you will end up with Andre the Giant Battle Royal the whole night. But you got 14 matches.
Selfishly, if the price point can be what I would pay for Mania for 1 night, then I'm okay with it being at 2 nights.
And
I don't want to pay for 2 shows.
No.
And also to your point, that's the biggest thing, because I know there's been this talk amongst the wrestling community, like, should it stay 1 night or should it do 2 nights? Because it's broken down to 2 nights, I don't feel overwhelmed tonight. I don't feel like stuff was shoved down my throat.
Right.
I don't feel like anything was rushed. I feel like they gave everybody enough time. So I'm like, man, usually I'm not a big 2-night kind of person, because I know people want to get back to normal and fill that stadium up just for one big night, after a combination of all week. But I can't say I'm disappointed with the way they put it together, because I'm like, man, if night 1 is good and then night 2 is good, I'm like, man, maybe would this have been the same good night if this was all on one card? So that's
and look, even more. Look,
I'd be tired. 8 hours sitting in
that's what I was about to say. More importantly, we're not in a stadium for 10 hours.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because WrestleMania, that was turning into like a college registration day or something. Like, you get there, like, when you leave your hotel to find parking, to park, to wait online for them to open it up, to sit, that's a whole day. So I'm happy that they broke it up.
Or if you like me and Corey, you up at 6 o'clock in the morning because you're doing access at 8.
Oh no, we ain't like everybody ain't like y'all. I can't. bless your heart. I can't do that.
Yeah, I'm a different breed at that point.
Yeah, different breed, and so therefore, I've taken naps at WrestleManias in the middle of matches, I'm sorry.
But see, now let me ask y'all this though, because Corey, you being a guy who hits all the live appearances and stuff, how do you sprinkle if you do 2 nights? How do you sprinkle all that stuff in plus the Hall of Fame? You still got SmackDown. Maybe you do something where you make this was booked as WrestleMania SmackDown. Is there a way you put like those second tier matches and make that last SmackDown that super show?
If it goes off the model of what we currently have, I would say everything's going to be pretty much, you're going to be down there for a week.
Yeah.
That's what it's pretty much going to come. If WrestleMania is 2 nights, you're talking about you're going to have to fly in the week before to go to everything.
It becomes a vacation for real.
Conceivably is going to be on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Or Wednesday. Well, actually, they probably would move it to my fault. Yeah, Wednesday would be TakeOver. Thursday would be the Hall of Fame. Friday would be SmackDown. Saturday and Sunday would be WrestleMania. You'd essentially have to come in on Tuesday if you want to go to everything. Or Monday.
Which is not a bad thing, because most Europeans come in anyway, spend a week and a half or 2 weeks.
Right.
But they ain't the Americans. So,
but again, and I'm gonna say to my point in saying that is because I don't think we ever go back to the conventions, the accesses. I don't think we ever get back to where they piling all those people into convention centers.
No, that's good.
You know what? I think we're still where we are right now, pandemic wise. we're probably still another 2 years. I think so. I thought maybe next year would be the first. I think Los Angeles will probably be the first time they probably have access again. I don't think they have it next year. I think, or it will be limited if they have it next year. The first full-blown access again will probably be Los Angeles.
And then sorry.
Go ahead, Brian.
I said to go outside the WWE bubble. What do you think about WrestleCon? You think they're gonna take those risks like a lot of the indies with WrestleCon?
I don't think a lot of places, like even if you have a state like Florida or Texas that are willing to open their doors, I just don't think that you want to assume the liability or the reputation. Because once something happens at that thing and they can identify it as that, then that's what you're just going to be associated with moving forward. You know, and until this thing is 100% gone, and we don't know if it's ever going to be 100% gone.
Right.
So I just don't think it's worth it. You kind of don't want to open that box.
Yeah, definitely don't open that box. You know, that's one of the things that just made me think about, because I agree with Dwayne. Tonight was enjoyable because I didn't have to sit there for 8 hours. Yeah. You know, it was enjoyable because I sat there, even though we had a 45-minute delay, and it still didn't feel. So we would end it at 11 o'clock instead of I guess it was like 11:30, 11:40 around that time frame. So it would have been easier. You know, that 4 hour standpoint of 3 or 4 hours. Again, it's comfortable. No complaints. You know, match number 2, real quick. The matches for tomorrow night. You got Asuka versus Rhea Ripley. You have The Fiend versus Randy Orton. You have Big E versus Apollo Crews. You have Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn, which I think was still a show. You also have Matt Riddle versus Sheamus. You have Nia Jackson and Shayna Baszler taking on Natalya and Tamina. And to close out the show, Roman Reigns with Paul Heyman taking on Edge and Daniel Bryan. Tomorrow night, I think tonight was good. I just think tomorrow night is going to be the icing on the cake.
I'm telling you,
it should be
everybody
fun,
said
man.
the same thing about Takeover.
Well,
I wanted to be better.
I just want to listen. Let's keep the parlay alive. Yeah, that's what we need to do. 2 down, 4 to go. Let's go.
Hey, I feel you, fellas. There, I enjoyed it, man. The Realm and the Wrestling Marks X, we gotta get together more often because this was fun. I really enjoy it. Hey, Brian, Dwayne, let people know where they can see you guys, hear you guys, and where y'all gonna be at tomorrow, man. So let us. Hey,
Dwayne, you do it this time.
Yeah, tomorrow we will be back in studio. We back at on the Wrestling Wrealm Now podcast. Brian and myself will be, I guess, wrapping up this WrestleMania week tour. We've been on tour all week, just making our stops at different shows, man. So that's what we were more than happy to come on here. We appreciate the invite. You can always find us on youtube.com/The Wrestling Wrealm. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter at The Wrestling Wrealm, at Wrestling Wrealm. On Instagram and Twitter. You can follow Brian H. Waters at Brian H. Waters. Make sure you put the H after Brian and before Waters. You can follow me at Dwayne Allen 24 on Twitter and at TRDA Brand on Instagram. Boom! Brian didn't think I could do it, but I did it.
Hey, make sure you follow us at WME Podcast. I'm at the real Glenn Thomas. Go ahead, champ.
I'm at Champ Creed on Twitter, on Instagram. And everywhere else you see Champ Creed, that'll more than likely be me. Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, Twitter and Instagram. My kicks are my fix. I'm nobody. I'm just a guy who posts shoes.
Oh, please.
That's not true, ladies and gentlemen. Don't believe that at all.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us. Make sure you check us out on iTunes, Google Play, wherever you get your social media. Also check us out on Instagram. As always, Wizard, take us home.
Hey, if you're not confirmed, consider yourself denied.
And shout out to Dr. D. Good night.